Hey everyone, so today I'm going to do something different. I'm going to read through a few of the comments that some of you have asked me, and I'm going to answer your questions. Hey everyone, I give out freebies every month. I answer questions. If you've not subscribed to my channel and if you've not hit the notification, do so now because you're going to get something for free maybe. So I'd love to see you win. Check the subscribe, check the notifications down below. So my first question comes from Zach. I know some states require it, but do you need to acquire a photocopy of your client's social security card when doing state funds, even if you have 3 to 5 other documents proving that they are the correct person to claim? You know, Zach, that's a great question. I do because I like to give the state no excuse. I've seen cases where someone they want a tax return that's 8 years old to prove that they had an escrow account or something like that. So the more documentation they have, but to answer your question is, if they don't want to enclose it and you absolutely don't have it, which I have submitted claims without that, email the state what you have before you send it and ask them if it's okay to send the documentation as you have it and see what they say. Because sometimes they'll come back and they'll say, okay, you have the tax returns, you have a notary, you have this, it's okay. But if they require it on the document, especially like bank accounts and things like that, those get a little more sensitive. Usually the state always requires it. Hope that helps, Zach, and thanks for that question. Next question. So Kanik asks, how can I get a copy of your free ebook? Kanik, I do a drawing every month, and you know what? Because you've asked me, I'm gonna just give you one. Email us at info@surpluslist.com. That's info@surpluslist.com. Put your name in the subject line, and I will remember this, I've written it down. I'm giving you a free one, and just put free ebook from David, please. And I will go ahead and get you the free ebook. I'm awesome, and I want your feedback on that, Kanik. Thank you. Okay, so here's a good question I get all the time. This is from Jason. Jason asks, would you recommend having a legit business name to present to the people who you are trying to reach? Jason, that is a great question, and I'm gonna do what I have to do and talk a minute on this. So when I first started Surplus Funds, when I first started doing it on my own, this was back in like 2014, I just used my name and I had an email that was basically an investor's email. As time went on, I was flipping properties in JD Vista and I decided to use JD Vista and I converted that over. I love it because when I'm talking to people, I can hide behind the JD Vista and I can just say I'm with JD Vista. With many states, you can have a corporation that's just a few bucks. In fact, we have resources on our Facebook group, and I know you're in the Facebook, so feel free to look at that in the Facebook group. You get a corporation for under $100, and it goes a lot further. And there's so many out there that you could do, like claims or surplus funds claims, whatever you want. I mean, JD Vista is a nice one to have, but I see some other people. What I'd really caution though is when I first started this, this is so far out there you can't make this stuff up. There's two I'm thinking about. I had a young man years ago in Warriors email me that he wasn't getting the people to call him back and showed me the contracts and everything. Everything was perfect except for his email. His email was, and I forget, and I don't want it was something like badass boy at whatever, and I'm like badass boy 21 or something. And I told him, this is when Warriors was really small. I just said, dude, if I got an email, if you were telling me I had $20,000, you were gonna get me paid, you're asking me to sign and notarize and show proof of identity and copy my driver's license, and I see an email like that, I'm gonna spam you for the rest of my life and block your number and never do business with you again. I also had a young lady, almost identical. She was in the program and she had asked me before, but she had emailed me all of her stuff and I was looking at it and critiquing her. And then her email was like, something like Hot Lips at whatever her site was. I think there was a number behind there, or Hot Girl or something like that. And again, you're doing that, and I wouldn't do business with you. In fact, I hate it when people call me and I don't know them and they ask me how I'm doing. I don't want to tell someone I'm doing that I don't know. That's why I teach the script. I'm not going to email someone or respond back to someone that has a crazy email. A legit business name is great. If you have it, if you don't have one, just start off, and you could do a Gmail account, like you could do something like excessive funds and a number or something like that. And then when you do your corporation or you do an LLC out of state, just look for a professional sounding name like that, and then get a website domain like that. There's so many different names out there. Play around with one for a while and get one, and you'll be able to get that. That's a great question though. You do eventually want to have one. Like I said, when you first start out, a lot of you don't have, I didn't, back when I used to do this, I didn't have a lot of money to be able to be opening up corporations and stuff, but even then, that's not that expensive. So yeah, if you can, be professional. Get a professional looking website. I know Google now has a lot of like free websites and stuff that you could use, that you could get a domain name and just direct it over there, just forward it over to that one and get it started. Absolutely. Great question. Desiree, I love your calls. Thank you, Desiree. Okay, Paul, good to see you, Paul. Paul writes, very informative. Thank you. Thank you for that, Paul. Christopher puts, this will help my cold calling. Christopher, I'm glad to hear that. If you haven't gone back and listened to some of my cold calling videos, what I like people to do with my cold calling videos is, what would you say that fits your style? What would you say that's comfortable for you? What would you say differently? Like I say, hi, this is David Church. I'm calling and I have a very strong opening line. What would you say that's different, that complements what I'm doing though? And you should get your script down. You should know it like the back of your hand, because you're gonna get questions batted at you, and the worst thing you could do is say, I don't know. I don't know. Now, there are times where people tell me a situation, and I always get it, and I know I've mentioned this before, like, well, there's no relatives except for a stepkid, and no living parents, no living brothers or sisters. Does it go to the stepkid? And sometimes when a client asks me that, and I'm working in a state where that hasn't happened yet, I don't say I don't know. What I say is, let me double check and find that out. I haven't quite dealt with that situation yet, and people are usually good with that, because I'm saying I'm going to find out, and then I do what I need to do to find that situation out. So absolutely. Okay, so Zach asks, what documents are you sending via email, and do you know if most states allow virtual documentation rather than physical paperwork? Zach, you asked a question that I get all the time. If you do a bankruptcy, you do a state fund, you do a tax overage, you do a mortgage overage, one thing they all have in common, they do not allow digital signatures. And I've had people, and I say this repeatedly, people still try to do it. They always want to go through and get something. The state's going to want an original signature. They're going to want a notary. The contract between you and your client can be a digital signature. That's no problem, but you have to be very careful on how you do that. I do everything usually wet signature. So that's just something I do, and just keep it all the way across the board as you actually have a physical contract, because there's ways to get out of that. They want a wet signature. They want to see the documentation. They want the social security. So yeah, they're going to want as much documentation you can get, and yeah, they're going to want a wet signature. Great question. I get that all the time. All right, we have time for one more question. Great question here, and this is from Amar. I hope I'm saying that name correctly. With unclaimed property in California, if there are multiple owners, do you need all owners to sign the claim form or contract? You do. However, there is a caveat to that. If you can't get all owners to sign, I even have had this I'm dealing with right now a tax overage, and I've had the same thing. It was just a guy, but when we pulled title, he has an ex-wife, but they were married at the time of the foreclosure. It was a commercial lot. She gets half of the funds. But what we're doing with him is we're just getting him his half. What you can do, like let's say there's a brother, sister, and they have $50,000. You can only get a hold of the brother. You can get him his $25,000, and I've done this before, where you get him his portion, and then her portion stays at the state level, documented that she hasn't claimed it. So yes, you need to get a signature for both, which we're working on a claim like that right now. It was one of my Monday calls, and he signed, and she's now in the process of signing, but they're a brother, sister, father's estate, and we're having them both sign, and they'll both get paid by the state, which is nice because they'll get their percentages. JD Vista will get the 10% from the state, and it's a done deal. So you will need to get both parties or 3 or 4 parties to sign, and that does happen. Great question. If you are liking this, like you're saying, wow, but you have a question that you want answered, I'm going to be doing this probably a couple times a month, where I'm going to be answering different questions, and I'm sure I answered a question. Put your question down below in the comments. Just ask me a question and I will answer it. Plus, I might even put you on a raffle for a freebie then. Hey everyone, I love this. I love this time with you. Thank you. Do me a favor and let me know what you think on this. Ask me more questions, please. Hit the subscribe button below. Like this video if you haven't, and also hit the notification, because I do give out free gifts. I'd love for you to be included in that, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.